Alright guys, welcome back. We're taking another 30 out of the top 100.
This guy wants a hamster. Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co.
And I'm Devin.
And this is Devin. This is our spicy guest, our special guest. We're going to be...
we got in trouble last time.
We did get in trouble last time. I mean, you more than me, honestly.
I got in way more trouble than you.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I think the one thing people really hated, though, is Twilight Struggle. I mean, hated that we...
Didn't like.
I wouldn't even say I didn't like it.
Sorry. We complimented it mostly the whole time.
Yeah.
And then we didn't.
And then we didn't.
And then we took it out of the top 100.
Absolutely we did.
I think that was okay.
I still think it's okay. In case you missed it, in case you have no idea what's going on here, several weeks back we put out a video, 10 games we would remove from the BoardGameGeek Top 100. To begin with, in case you missed it, obviously we're wrong. But secondly, is we went ahead and we took out 10 games each from the top 100. We had one crossover. If you didn't figure it out yet from the things we said, you can go ahead and check out that video to see more. The point of the video was not about bashing games. It's never about bashing games. It's about our personal disconnect from certain titles and how they end up in the BoardGameGeek Top 100. The BoardGameGeek Top 100 is basically a combination of greatness and popularity. Those two things kind of go hand in hand, and so you tend to have, I would say the heavier and more intense a game is, the better it has to be because you're fighting that popularity aspect. You're fighting that wide adoption that a game like Wingspan might have.
And that's the same XY chart that I never scaled in high school. It was just like greatness and popularity, and I was definitely kind of like down in that lower left quadrant.
The lower left quadrant. I'm sure that video really helped though. Before we dive further into this video is not that video. This video was a very popularly requested in the comments section video of, okay, great, you took out 10 games. Now what would you add back in?
We took out 22.
Well, I took out 22. I took out 21.
Yeah, 21. I took out
10.
10.
Yeah. And with one crossover, that's a collective 30 titles out of the top 100.
Yeah.
That's not bad, actually.
That's why this video is simply just the next 30 that were down, we move up. And what was the next video? Sorry.
Yeah.
See you guys. What was the next video we were doing?
We're going to be adding in 10 games each back to the top 100 based on our own personal preferences. I can't speak for what Devin did for his list and putting his together. My list is based on a combination of my personal love for that game combined with a degree of accessibility around how I think that game would be received by everyone and not just me. Meaning this is not me just going to the next 101, 102, 103. This is also not me picking my favorite 10 games that weren't in the top 100. This is picking some amazing experiences that I genuinely love, but games that I think would be loved by a lot more. Arguably, maybe it's just a question of not enough people getting their hands on them. That's a factor in the BGG Top 100. I think these are the games I would put in if I wanted a reference list of people who go to the internet, find BoardGameGeek for the first time, and want to see what they should get their hands on.
Sounds like you put some thought into this.
I did.
I didn't.
That's okay. That was from the last video too. Anyways, before we go further, link down below. There will be a link to Devin's channel, Devin Talks Tabletop, where apparently a wild quackalope is telling me that if he hits 1,000, 10,000 subscribers?
I don't want a hamster.
As soon as he hits 10,000 subscribers, Jesse is buying him a hamster.
I'm not.
He doesn't want the hamster, so
he's going to do it though. He's going to do it, and I don't want a hamster.
I've been very clear. If he gave me a hamster, I wouldn't own the hamster for very long. In any case, let's go ahead and start this off. Devin, do you want to take number 1?
Yeah, I'll go number 1 because I'm actually going to do...
Wait, before we do. The chances of us having a crossover are actuly lower than last video.
Time. But I think we still have one.
How many crossovers do you think we have?
I think we have at least 2.
I think we have 1.
No, I think we have at least 2.
No way.
I would be drastically surprised if we don't have at least 2.
I think we have 1. I would be shocked if we have more than 1.
If we don't have 2, based off of what you said with your nice little monologue, I'm going to be shocked if we don't have more than 2.
Well, we'll find out together.
I mean, if we don't have these
I have
2.
1 that we have. There's only 1, and even that one, there's a chance it's not, but there's 1.
There's 2. There's so 2. Alright, I'm going to start off with my number 10, which, like yours, because I'm not intelligent, I can't think of my own ideas, I'm going to make my number 10 9 different games.
Are you actually?
Yeah.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
These are games that I did a combination similar to you of games that I really like, but also just games I couldn't decide between like the lowest quadrant of games that I had, and so my number 10 is just a list of honorable mentions, which is where I think these are games that are just consistently underrated.
Okay.
I don't want to put them into the top 100, but these are games that I think deserve to be higher than they are.
Sounds like an entirely different video. What are you doing here?
So, and part of it was just the shock that I had going through some of the rankings. Mm-hmm. So this is my top 9 that are underrated, but I didn't think I had enough of an argument to push them into the top 100. Blitzkrieg.
Feels like you're missing the point, but I'll accept it.
No. Blitzkrieg at
Great game.
523.
That is shocking.
523. I think it's an incredibly tight two-player
top
game.
100.
One of the best. No, not top 100. But I thought that deserved to be higher.
I'm going to say this one last time because otherwise I'm going to keep saying it. Sounds like a different video, but I will not say that again. Go ahead.
Blitzkrieg at 523. Black Rose Wars at 613.
That's fine. That's appropriate.
Yeah, I know that you and Jesse don't, like, you guys softened on that afterwards. I still think it's fantastic.
I think it's great. 613 is impressive. I don't think it should have wide
But you've
degrees of
played
accessibility.
613 games. So that makes sense for you. Cloudspire at 467.
Haven't played.
Which I think, in my opinion, if I play it more often, I think it's the best of the Chip Theory games. So, if Too Many Bones is in the top 100 and I think Cloudspire is better, then I think that should be higher.
Then you should put Cloudspire in the top 100.
Nope, I have other ones that beat it out.
Okay.
Euphoria at 466, which I think is one of the best Stonemaier games.
That's
and
overrated.
numerous... Oh!
I have to play it. It's been
King
I
of
played it one
Tokyo, which if we talk about ambassadors for the...
if King of Tokyo is lower than 300, I'd be surprised.
355. And that's the best version. All the other implementations of it,
Yeah.
the Dark Edition and all. That's the highest it gets is 355.
I am surprised it's that low.
Yeah. Tapestry, which another Stonemaier game that I like more than quite a few other ones that are ranked higher, 249. Still good, but I really enjoy it more than Wingspan and several other ones like Viticulture. I think Euphoria and Tapestry are better to me than Wingspan and Viticulture, which are both up there. Watergate,
Okay.
130.
Gotcha.
And if I think that Twilight Struggle, which used to hold number 1, was at the top, then I think Watergate needs to be higher.
Yeah, that's an argument we can have.
Veiled Fate.
It's not even out yet.
Yeah, it's out. I've got it. I've got a fulfillment at 4,597, which I just think that's got to be higher, right?
It's literally not out yet.
It is out.
Who has it? How many people?
I got it, and it's not a review copy or anything. It's my Kickstarter copy.
When did it arrive?
Like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago.
Has it been that long?
Yeah.
Have I just missed it? I mean, also, it just came out.
And then the last one is Space Hulk Death Angel, which is by Corey Konitskia, who's one of my favorite designers, who did other games that I really enjoy. And that's at 662. And I think that after playing it recently, this is more of like a first impressions, I think this deserves to be higher. Really liked it. So after that, I'm moving into what this video is actually about.
Well, I'm glad we cleared that up. I'm going to timestamp. I'm going to timestamp it. You can literally skip this part.
Obviously, he's wrong.
I'm going to go into my number 9, although in the interest of not number 9, I'm going to go into my number 10, although in the interest of somewhat doing what he did, I will acknowledge that I have 3 special mentions, 3 honorable mentions, and...
Sounds like you missed the point of this video.
No, there's just 3, and then I'm going to have...
I have 9 honorable mentions. It literally says honorable mentions.
Hey, quit it. So, my first honorable mention is one that I wanted to add to the list, but I could only fit 10, and I really had to make cuts. I mean, I cut out a lot of the games that I consider as candidates of things that I would put into the top 100. And the last one, it's always a process of going through it, but the last one was the hardest cut I had to make, to the point that I decided to include as an honorable mention, which is Coimbra. Coimbra is a Euro game. I don't think you've played it. Have you played it? Have you played Lorenzo?
Nope.
Have you played any Euro games? Have you played Brass?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Anyways, Coimbra
I taught you Birmingham.
I know. Coimbra is a game that I really enjoy. I think it's one of the better Euro chaining games from a bunch of Italian designers who have a whole bunch of popular games under the belt, and I really, really, really love Coimbra. It's coming in at 184 on BoardGameGeek, so it is good. I had a hard time removing it from my cut, but for me, I guess it's 101, I guess, if you want to call it that way. My number 2 honorable mention is one that is almost a throwback to the last list. In the last list, I took Dominion Intrigue out of the top 100, and I kind of felt that my biggest pet peeve was, why is it not Dominion? I'm still not putting Dominion in the top 100, but Dominion is 108. It's very close. It's 108. It's very close.
It's close enough for you.
Close enough for me. Close enough for me. And then my last one is in the top 100. I didn't realize it went up so quickly. But it was the first pick I had. I was like, this is the first game I'm 100% adding to the top 100. And I was like, oh, you already got this. Okay, cool. Cascadia coming in at 82 is a fairly recent game.
So high.
Isn't it?
For being so recent.
That's what I'm talking about. It landed a month ago.
Wow.
A year and a half. Whatever. Anyways, Cascadia is a great game from Flat Out Games. It has become one of my favorite gateway games, quick playing, accessible games. I love it. It's amazing. I think it should be higher than 82, and it will continue to grow. If it got to 82 that quickly, it's only going to continue to grow up. I love that game. And that's my honorable mentions. My number 10, those are not my number 10, those are my honorable mentions.
Oh.
My number 10, and for context, my list, I don't know how you ranked your list. I ranked my list in order not of how I would put them, but in order of, I'm starting with the things that were closest to the top 100, and then working my way down from the furthest away. Okay, so for example, my number 10...
You continue to have nuance and interesting ideas into how you apply yourself to this list.
Yeah, so do you. You added 10 games that shouldn't have been here. Inish is my number 10. Inish coming in at 105 on BoardGameGeek. They're ranked 105, so it's just outside. I think it's criminal that this game is not top 20 on BoardGameGeek. I think this game is insanely good. I think it is the best area control, arguably tied with Blood Rage, which has definitely made its way into the top 100. I think it is an incredible, elegant Euro game, not Euro Ameritrash hybrid. I love what Inish does, and I love how cleverly and elegant. We should play Inish right after this video.
You guys talk
on
about
camera.
Just for the outro, we'll just set up Inish.
Inish is, it's so good. It's just, the thing about Inish that gets me is that every single thing you do feels elegant, it feels clever, it feels like someone said, I want the most Euro-feeling war game we could possibly have, while still being a straight-up war game and area control. I love Inish. It's 105, so clearly people like it, but they should like it more than they currently do. That's my number 10.
Well then, I hope we, like ships sailing past each other in the night, as you go past, I hope I go, and we meet somewhere in the middle. Because my number 9 comes in at 122,
not
and
on my
is
list.
Parks. Parks is not
Parks
on
is
your
on my
list?
list!
Okay.
We have 2 crossovers.
Well, you said it wasn't on your list.
I just said 122 because I just instinctively, because the only crossover I have is not 122. The only crossover I think we have is not 122.
That's why I think we had 2.
You were right. Now let's see if you're right. But now see if I was wrong with the other one, which would make me right.
Oh no, we're so right about the other one. If you didn't put that, I mean, it's going to be way down your list.
Yes, it is.
Parks ranks in at 122, and we talked in the last video about games that even though we were taking out or that we didn't like, that we thought were great ambassadors for the hobby. We mentioned Wingspan. To me, Parks is in that category. It is
100%.
It is a kind of game that it is gorgeous. It's sumptuous. It will draw people in who don't think board games are something that they wouldn't look at a Euro that has dry art and dense mechanics, and they wouldn't be as engaged. And Parks it's beautiful. It's also accessible, but it's got enough strategy that it really does satisfy, to me, the full spectrum of people in the hobby. This game deserves to be in the top 100. It deserves to dethrone a lot of titles that are in the top 100 and push up. If we have other games that are like Wingspan and other ones that are exquisite designs and also do so much for board games, Parks is there.
And it's what you said, Parks has that dual layered aspect to it, that you can drop it in front of people who've never played a board game before, teach it them, and it's easy to pick up.
Yeah.
And then you can drop it in front of a bunch of cutthroat gamers, and it will be mean and cutthroat and vicious as you block each other and get each other's way, but you don't have to play that way. You can simply play it as, oh, it's a little light set collection. I take this action, I move along, I take this action. Ooh, this is a fun little game. Look at that, I traded in for a little portrait painting park, whatever. That's great. Or you could just be mean and brutal and take someone's spot again and again and again and constantly outmaneuver and outmanipulate them as you vie for control. This game it functions at so many levels. It is brilliant. It absolutely should be higher. Yeah. Good choice. And I hate that you're right now.
We're going to have 2.
We're going to have 2 crossovers. Wow, I did not realize Parks is on your list. I went through the rest of these.
You and I always talk nice about Parks.
I forget. I don't listen to you that much. My number 2.
Sounds like
My number 9.
common refrain.
My number 9 is Cthulhu Death May Die, coming in at 114.
I want to play this.
I will play it right after this video. Cthulhu Death May Die is one of the
Play this so bad.
most thematic experiences.
I didn't pick any games I hadn't played. I think you also did the same thing. But
it's one of the most thematic experiences that I've played in board games. It is so intensely satisfying to play this game. And by the way, I believe 100% that Cthulhu Death May Die will be in the top 100. It's been slowly creeping up. It's been doing very well for a game in this genre.
where is it at right now?
114. And it's
probably will.
It's been climbing. It has consistently...
Especially if Simon puts out some down the road a Marvel Death May Die.
Well, that'll be noxious. Anyways, all the ones.
That'll be obnoxious, and you will buy all of it.
Yes, I will. Well, I will. I will. To be very clear, if they put out Marvel Death May Die, I will buy it. But that's a game where I feel the theme currently fits, and I'm not a Cthulhu person. I don't like Cthulhu as a theme, but I think the theme fits very well in what it's doing. I just think a Marvel theme...
Do you like it more than Mansions of Madness?
I don't like Mansions of Madness. Did you miss the last video? We did this video together.
I know. I've slept since then. We both have kids. Okay, give me a break. I've slept since then.
Cthulhu Death May Die is...
But to me, the Arkham universe...
Yes.
Is something that in the FFG world with Arkham and all of that, it's something that is very commonly harkened back to as like let's just do it in the Arkham universe. Yeah. And so I am a little tired of Lovecraftian horror in relation to that universe and in relation to similar games that circle around it. But Death May Die
works.
I've never been bothered by the fact that every time I look at it, every time I hear someone talk about it, that it also is Cthulhu. Like, the theme does not bother me there.
I've never liked the Cthulhu theme. I have liked some games within the Cthulhu theme, and in Death May Die, I would be sad to see the Cthulhu theme rethemed. I love Cthulhu Death May Die. The way you level up your investigators consistently, the way you're powering up as you go insane. It's literally a track where you have to constantly balance how much insanity you want to take, because if you get to the end, you die. But along the way, you keep getting more powerful, unlocking abilities. And it's like, ooh, do I dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? Because I'm going to die. Yeah. It's so ridiculously satisfying. I
have something in my list that I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to bring this back up, because I think that's an amazing mechanic. That you choose to get closer to death, or like as you get something that typically in other games you're like, I have to avoid that. You actually are okay to lean into it because you get better.
Lean into the madness, young one. I love the game. I just played it this past week on TTS. I played with a bunch of patrons on TTS. I love the game. I'm sorry, I just love the game. That's gonna be Cthulhu Death May Die. Because I'm like thinking of other games that I love, and I'm thinking Cthulhu Death May Die should be ranked higher in my collection. We'll see in my top 100 games of all time.
It's going up.
We'll see
if you remember this. If you feel this passion next time.
You know how many times I've played the intro scenario to Cthulhu Death May Die?
You know, Max said the same thing, because we did a top 10 out of Quackalope's collection, and I did 5, he did 5, and he picked Death May Die, and he said, I have played that game like 6 or 7 times, and of those 6 or 7 times, or no, maybe, I mean, he could have said 10 or more. He said he's played the beginning first scenario like 4 or 5 times, and he's like, I've never tired of it.
100%. I have played Cthulhu Death May Die easily 40 plus times. Easily. Mm-hmm. This is a game I have gone through a lot, and I played that first scenario easily 10 plus times, and that's because I keep introducing to new players and keep coming back to it. It is just so satisfying. Now, to be fair, I do think the first scenario is one of the best scenarios, so don't extrapolate that out to the others. I think the others are absolutely replayable, but the first scenario is one of my favorites. I love that game. I'm sorry. We're going to move on now. Go ahead to your number 8.
My number 8 is The Last Time I'm Cheating.
Okay.
It's The Last Time I'm Cheating. But I actually don't know if you'll feel the same way. I know you liked this game a lot, but I'm still going to cheat. And this is coming in at 10,990. And this is Six Siege, the board game.
It doesn't exist! You can't do that!
I don't care. I have put 1,000 hours into Rainbow Six Siege, the board game.
I need to put Mythic Mischief on here. Unbelievable.
It does exist. I say that in the context that I have played the prototype, and I've had it in my house a lot. And I don't even care that it's not the full production game. This game, to me, when it releases and comes out to everybody, this game, to me, sits up there with two-player experiences like War of the Ring, Star Wars Rebellion. Like, the level of satisfaction that you're going to be able to get in a two-player strategic competitive game, like this tactical, amazing experience. I have a question.
Yeah.
If you disregard the video that we're doing, let's just ignore the viewers for a moment.
Oh, Six Siege is fantastic.
When it comes out,
Yes.
if they smooth out, rules and stuff that they do in...
Rules weren't terrible.
They weren't terrible, but like in, the natural... as things get better once they get into production.
Yeah.
How far would this climb for you? Ignore the viewers. They're not there.
Yeah, I'm not
Just
I don't know what's going on. So Six Siege is... I have to continue playing it. That's my big thing.
Yeah.
I didn't get enough time to play it. I enjoyed it. I loved what they were doing, and I think it's absolutely, totally worth being on your list if it were in any way eligible for this list, of course.
You seem like you're not talking to me.
I'm talking to you. Who else is here?
You seem like you're not talking to me. Just
Six
me.
Siege is fantastic. Six Siege is incredible. It is one of the better two-player experiences. My one concern with it, for me personally, is exactly the comparison to the other titles you mentioned. Historically speaking, for me, very long two-player games like Twilight Struggle, for example.
They're not in your collection.
They're not in my collection.
That's fair.
Yeah,
That's fair.
That was my one critique.
I have a question. Now that you've stopped your other job,
It's possible.
and you have all of this free time,
Are you moving here?
and I'm moving. I'm coming up once a month right now.
Six Siege will grow. I'm saying. I mean, I thought Star Wars Rebellion was a fantastic game.
Yeah.
I want to play War of the Ring.
Yeah.
And Twilight Struggle even is a great game that I'd love to play more in theory. I don't have time for it, so I play Watergate instead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Are we done with your list now?
are we done with my list?
So, where are you? So, Six Siege.
That was my number 8. It's an amazing game. It's the last time I'm cheating. It is actually the last time I'm cheating.
I can't believe you put that on there. It doesn't exist.
It's existed for me.
This doesn't count.
You're just mad because you're thinking of all the games that aren't out yet.
You're like, oh, I'm sorry, Alex. You didn't say top 10 games to play in the top 100 that anyone else can actually get. You should be more specific next time. My number 8. We're going to save you some time
We're
here.
cutting back in now, right? Because we were just talking to each other. You weren't in any way responding to me as
please.
if they were watching.
I cut your entire number 8 out of the video. My number 8 is Parks at 122.
Oh my gosh, do we have a crossover?
Wow.
I think we'll have a second.
We'll have a second. I didn't think we'd have Parks. To you, number 7.
You don't want to talk about Parks?
No, it's delightful. We've done this. It's amazing.
All right. My number 7 comes in, and I this was the one that I wish we had had 3.
Okay.
But my number 7 ranks in at 2,375.
Okay.
And this is Land versus Sea.
Interesting. I hear.
Because to me, this game is a Carcassonne killer. And if we're talking about a game that I would happily table with somebody who doesn't play a lot of board games and introduce them to just the 2-player vanilla version of the game.
Watch that, buddy.
I know, right? That was dangerous. And just none of the optional scoring. It is such a compact, exhilarating tile lane puzzle. It's so good. And then on top of that, it works at 3-player in a completely different fashion.
It does. It's fascinating.
It works at 4-player in a much more like nuanced. I think 4-player is the weakest.
Yes. I like 2-player. I like 3-player. 4-player is fine. I like 2-player. I like 3-player.
4-player, though, at least has the interesting element of the no table talking, and you use your Wayfair marks to... Yeah. It's the least compelling of the 2 play modes. Yeah. But it's got a dedicated way to play at 2, 3, and 4 that isn't unbalanced. It works very well at each of those player counts. So it hits every player count really well. And I think not a lot of games do that. I think a lot of games on the box are like, hey, this is a 1 to 4 player game. And really it's balanced for like 2.
Like Root,
maybe 3. Don't get me started. I got 2... the top 10 worst with Quackalope.
Oh, nice! I can't.
I'm in for a world of hurt. I don't start the train already.
I already threw Root into his top 10. Did he tell you that?
You threw it in there too.
When I did top 10 worst games in Quackalope's collection, I threw it in there.
You threw. How bad was it? How bad was it?
I mean,
I'm currently playing with Max and Shira on the app.
Let's put it this way. You probably don't have to worry about that hamster anytime soon.
So I think Land vs. Sea deserves to be up there as one of the most accessible small box games that has actually quite a lot of strategy to it. And to me, it's it may take a while, but I think over time it deserves to be in the top 100. I think it's a remarkably good game.
I think it's a reasonable choice. I don't feel as strongly. I really like the game, to be clear. I don't feel as strongly though, but I do. I think it's an absolutely reasonable choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. My number 7, 6. We're up to 6, aren't we?
No, 7.
7. My number 7 is 142 on BoardGameGeek. It's the Quest for El Dorado, which I think you played.
You introduced me, and Kiev has already played plenty of times, but you introduced me to it last time.
The Quest for El Dorado from Reiner Knizia has become one of my favorite deck building experiences. It's a race game, and people can resonate with race games. I mean, you introduce anyone who's in the popular hobby culture into a bunch of games, and you say, by the way, here's a race game. They already know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And then you throw deck building at them for the first time, but it's not necessarily overwhelming. It kind of makes sense. You're racing, and then you start. It's a little bit to take on for the first time, but it's accessible and it's fun and it's a race. It's a fun to race along and to have powers and abilities as you go.
Is it a race?
It's a race. Huh. Yeah, and then you introduce it to players people who play board games, and they can also dive into it because it works on many levels. It has the strategy, it has the tenseness, it has the deck reading, it has all those things you're used to in a deck building experience, and it does so very well while being very compelling, playing in a short time frame. Very accessible, a few expansions. It has a full art version by Ian O'Toole that I need to pick up because it looks amazing. It's just only available internationally, so I'll have to figure that out later. But the Quest for El Dorado it's accessible, it's strategic, it is cheap. That's another thing, by the way. You can pick this game up on Amazon for like $25, $30 a time.
That's really good.
It is a great game. I would absolutely load that up in the top 100. Yeah.
Okay, my next one, and as I look at my next one, the one above it, not the one I'm about to talk about, but the next one.
Is it the last time you're cheating?
It is actually the last time I'm cheating, for real. I forgot. It's not this one. It's just, while you were talking about Quest for El Dorado, I looked at my list. I started to smirk because I realized there is one more time I'm cheating.
Can't even take it seriously.
But this one, my number
6
is Dice Throne at 338.
I'm surprised it's that low.
I am too, and I believe that's the absolute highest version. It's got a lot of different rankings because they have an individual entry and ranking for the first volume, for the battle chest, for Marvel Dice Throne.
I wonder what the Marvel will do to the ratings.
Marvel might bump it up, but I did the highest one I could find, and that was the Season 2 battle chest, which is the most recent one if you don't count the Season 1 re-rolled that came alongside it. And so the most recent one, 338. And to me, this is a go-to two-player game. It is so accessible. It's so fun. To me, this is like the in my honorable mentions, I had King of Tokyo.
Sure.
To me, Dice Throne is kind of like the inevitable next step that people take when they're getting into the hobby. Like you can have, I mean, outside of the fact that it doesn't always match with player count.
Yeah.
King of Tokyo has more accessibility with player count. Dice Throne, though, if you're just playing it like 2, is you get that Yahtzee, but you also get a lot of depth in terms of the character play, and there's so many ways to engage with it because there are games where you can have 2 characters that pair really well head-to-head, or if you're engaged and interested in doing a 2 versus 2, you can have, finally, some of the support characters or the not as aggressive characters that are in both of those sets, because I have all of it. So you have 16 characters. You can really get some nice pairings where maybe somebody who isn't, they're more of a defensive character. They can kind of actually be a little bit more nuanced in how you play them because you can work together with your teammate against the other team. And it's a gorgeous production. It's really solid gameplay. And it's one that I think is so much fun and satisfying for people, like whenever you get your first ultimate or whenever you are able to chain off something or stop an opponent. It's so satisfying that I think it's just kind of like a marquee board game experience for people in the hobby, and I think it deserves to be up there.
Yeah, I like Dice Throne a lot. I think it's a little on the light side, but it's not the point because very often the top 100 has games that are on the light side. Yeah, but I will say I'm surprised it's not higher. Yeah. I wouldn't personally put it there, but I'm surprised it's not higher. Mm-hmm. My number 5, my number 6, my number 6. I can't count. You can't understand what the point of this video is. My number 6 is coming in at 201. Outside the top 200, which I was surprised by, granted by only 1, but number 201 on BoardGameGeek is Cyclades. Cyclades is the next of the Kemet Matago Inish trilogy of games that I'm throwing straight into the top 100. I don't care.
Dragging them, kicking and screaming.
Kicking and screaming is right. Cyclades is incredible. It is an amazing game. Have you played it? You haven't played it yet.
No.
Oh my god.
You realize that every time I come here,
yeah,
this is a repeating narrative.
Yeah.
We talk about games.
We've knocked out a few every time. Every time I've told you like, oh, we have to play this, we've knocked some out.
That's true.
Last time we played Seven Wonders, so you just need to visit more.
I've played Seven Wonders though.
Yeah, but you need to play it with me in the expansion. Anyway,
the expansion. No, I did it with the expansion.
I know, and you did.
Yeah, it was better. It was better.
Some of the things we say we're gonna do, we actually do.
We do,
and the rest of the time we don't listen to the instructions.
We should do an outro of just another video game.
Yeah,
or not a video game, but a game.
Cyclades from Matago is an amazing experience that I love specifically because of the bidding for your actions. Every single round you're engaging. Have you played Raw? Or any bidding game? Oh, no, I'm not going to waste my time. Okay.
Bidding games, the one that we knocked out last time was Modern Art. I really enjoyed that.
So
that was a lot of fun.
Cyclades basically has, think area control, but think about the fact that in the area control, you have sea, you have land, you have powers, and you have all these different elements you're going for. But if I want to attack you, I have to win the bidding for the attacking god this round, Ares.
Ooh.
And then only one person can win each god per round. So if I outbid you on Ares, you have
to go
somewhere else.
What are the different gods?
There's controlling the sea and moving your ships.
Mm-hmm.
There's controlling your units and moving on land or across a chain of ships to get to other lands.
Is it a possible resource or finances enough to win multiple bids?
Yeah, no, you can only have one each round.
Okay,
each round you're deciding which god am I going to take control of this round. Which god's buildings can I build? Which god's benefits can I take advantage of?
What do you have to spend for the bidding?
Money.
Okay.
Money. So there's a resource engine in play as well, and then you're trying to bid on these various gods, and the last god actually just gives you money. So there's all these balances of trying to figure out, okay, great, I need to attack you, but first I need to set my ships up in a chain. I need to do that by winning Poseidon. Now that I've won Poseidon, I need to win Ares. The problem is everyone else is trying to do the thing at the same time. So you're like, okay, great, I guess you'll outbid me on Ares, and I guess fine, I'll go over here to Zeus so I can start grabbing some power tiles instead, because that will help me defend and set me up for next turn.
But that was somebody else's alternative plan.
So then you end up going all the way back to, you just get cancelled your bid entirely and go over to, I can't remember his name, the last god, I can't remember his name right now, but he's free, but he gives you money. So now there's a little bit of a game in play of, okay, great, I'm walking to the next round with the most money. Is a whole game of the timing of choosing when to win a bid and how to win a bid, and to ensure, like, you could have the greatest military strength the world has ever seen. And if you don't have enough money to win Ares, you're stranded on an island alone.
That's so cool.
Fascinating game. I love it. I love Cyclades.
I want to play both of those now.
Yeah, it's a great game. Great game. That's my number 6.
All right, my number 5 is the last time I'm cheating.
Dear Lord.
And it's probably the cheat that's going to offend you the most, because it's the type of thing that you probably are least interested in. Though now that you have more time, I would love to see you engage in something like this. I have picked the Alien RPG from Free League Publishing, which is unranked because role-playing games aren't ranked in the BGG Top 100. But bear with me. I have an argument for this.
I'm throwing in Jack Reacher. I'm adding Jack Reacher to the BGG Top 100.
It's just called Reacher. It's just called Reach, the TV show, which I know
I'm
you're
talking about the book.
Oh, you're talking about the book? Okay.
The book's much better. I'm adding Jack Reacher, the books, to the BGG Top 100.
Here's my argument. Listen to this. I have an argument for this one. And that is that role-playing...
It's going to be really awkward for the audience when there's 2 random cuts and it just jumps back to me twice.
It's like, man, Devin didn't talk much. Role-playing happens on a spectrum of... thematic immersion into a story, and also mechanics. There are mechanics, just like in board games, that you follow in role-playing games. And I would argue that within board games, there is a large push in the spectrum of how much you thematically immerse yourself into the story of something. I mean, pick all of the games that we've talked about, pick some of your favorite games, and there is a level to which you buy in to the theme or narrative. And I know that out of you and Jesse, you're the least one to talk to, but what I'm saying is...
it's the choice. Like, you're making choices, you're making decisions, and as you progress, there's different pathways that are unlocked. That basically makes it a board game.
Not fully, but I'm saying that...
throwing Choose Your Own Adventure books into the top 100.
But what I'm saying is that in this space, I think that RPGs can be, and maybe sometimes should be, talked about in the same arena or space that board games are talked about in. because they operate under so many of the same rules that it's really only you lean more into the role-playing side of it. But like Cthulhu Death May Die, you absolutely love it, and you are definitely okay with the theme, and you are leaning into, the reason why I wanted to bring this one back up is the main mechanic that you love in that game, that you waxed philosophical about before I ever said a thing, was that there is an insanity track, and the more you go into it, the more powerful you get, but the closer you get to death. In Alien RPG, they have a system called the stress die system, and what it is this is the official role-playing game that follows along through the universe of Alien, you know, the sci-fi movies. And in that, the stress system, instead of using like the D20 system in Dungeons & Dragons and other 5e games, you have 6-sided dice. And you have 6-sided dice that go to your character's strengths and attributes. But as you go through the story, and as you progress through the narrative, either campaign that somebody comes up with or a cinematic scenario that follows along like a movie, you develop stress. Mm-hmm. And as you develop stress, with each stress level that you have, you roll a stress die in addition to your dice. And so those also have successes on them. And that means that as you get more stressed, you actually become more focused and more able to achieve the tasks that you need to. But unlike your base die, the stress die on the flip side, instead of the success, it has a panic roll. Yeah. And so if you ever roll a 1 on any of the stress die, you actually have a catastrophic negative effect or consequence to what you're doing. You may still follow through with your action, but you might cause yourself and somebody else to freak out and run away, or to freeze up for a turn and not be able to do anything. And so the more dice you get, the more stressed you get, the more likely you are to do a great job on an action, and also conversely, the closer you are to death, because it ramps up and ramps up.
You're making me want to play this. You're not convincing me.
I don't need to convince you. If you want to play this, that makes me win. I don't care.
I don't care
how
video
well
games.
I do. So
whatever.
Alien RPG is one of the best role-playing experiences I've ever had, and it deserves to be touted as much as it does. And if people like buying into certain elements and mechanics of board games, then they need to explore and dive into the opportunities you have in this role-playing experience. I just think that not enough people think that there are similarities between what they're doing in board games and what they're doing in role-playing games. You role-play in board games way more than you ever give yourself conscious recognition of, and this deserves to be on this list.
We'll play it sometime. Okay. My number 5 is Last Light by Roy Kennedy. No, of course it isn't. It's not out yet.
I think I enjoy how much I break the framework of what you operate within, and it just
Last Light
you
is delightful,
bothers me.
and I do hope it gets to the top 100, but it's not. It's not out yet, so no. Anyways.
Oh wait, we can't do games that are not out yet?
My number 5, speaking of role-playing, is Paleo, coming in at 254. I'm going to ask the question I hate to ask. Have you played Paleo?
Nope.
We should play Paleo! Paleo is such a good game, and it's so unique, and it's so friendly, and it's such an interesting cooperative experience. I absolutely think it should be in the top 100. I absolutely think people should be playing this game more. Paleo gives you a role-playing experience in the sense that you're cavemen. You're cavemen trying to survive, and you have to basically survive before a certain number of deaths happen to your tribe. Yeah. And bad things are constantly happening. You have a deck of cards that are coming at you, and the way it works is all the players at the same time are playing cards, but then I can do my own thing. I can hunt for wood, I can gather food, or I can choose to not do that thing and help you. The cards often let you help. They don't always let you help. So sometimes I can say, you know what? No, I have a few spears, and it looks like you're engaged with this wild boar. Why don't we take that down and get ourselves a little more food? And it introduces there's a word for it, emergent narrative. It's introduced in an emergent narrative in the sense that there's not
emergent narrative, that's interesting.
There's not a single bit of story. Not a single bit. There's not a word, there's not a phrase, there's not a single sentence that happens. But it ends up that you go through this experience. You hunted down that wolf, but you didn't have enough weapons, so the wolf actually takes down 2 of your tribe members. But then across the rest of the game, you keep going through that, and you get more weapons.
So it's like a story that you're experiencing, and there's mechanics that let you get into the narrative.
Yeah, and it has a listing in the BoardGameGeek top 100. It has a listing in the BoardGame database. Yeah. And so
it's a listing to the board game database. It's the point of this video.
It's literally the point of this video. I can give you 6 Siege because that was me not being specific enough.
To be fair,
I can't give you 6 Siege.
The title is 10 games that we want to put into the BGG Top 100. At no point did we say they had to be in the BGG beta database.
Whatever. So Paleo
RPG role-playing.
Paleo is incredible in the sense. So what happens is you're going through these cards again and again.
Yeah.
So that wolf that you failed to defeat the first time, when you shuffle the deck and it comes back up a second time, maybe it hits you again. Maybe you can actually take it out. When you do take it out, it gets removed from the deck. So it introduces us the story as you face encounters that you can't persevere past, but then you're walking with a little bit more knowledge as to the things you're going to engage with. And the game is modular, so you're constantly introducing new decks to the system. So every time you play, you're getting hit with things you didn't prep for, and then learning a bit more about how to prep for it in the next cycle, or if you lose, the next game.
I really love that. Since we have done, both of us, equally, not just me, we both have talked about many things that haven't had to do with board games. But that really reminds me of, have you played, Shadow of Mordor?
No.
The video game?
No.
So it's within the world of Lord of the Rings, but it introduces a system that prior to that game coming out, no video game had ever done. And it was called the Nemesis system. And it was, if you ever die...
That's actually a board game.
What?
Nemesis.
Okay. I thought you were talking about Shadow of Mordor. I was like, cut, I need to go play it. But it introduces the Nemesis system where if you come across any orc, it could be a big boss, it could be just a little guy. If they kill you, they actually come back stronger. No. Is it? Yes. It's if they kill you, they come back strong, like they empower themselves and they get stronger. So the next time you come back to try to kill them, they remember that they fought you before and won. And so it builds this narrative, and you have this relationship with this previous encounter that you failed at. And so that kind of reminds me of like in Paleo, you're like, you didn't take this down, but the next time you kind of know. But it builds this like not just redemption, but like ability for you to have a relationship with something that comes back cyclically.
Cool.
That has, that's really just for me. That's not any of value to the discussion, but it's just for me. It's just interesting.
Your number 4.
Coming in at number 4.
If you say Shadows of Mordor, I'm going to slap you.
Shadow of Mordor, Middle-earth video game. Ranked in at 217 is Dwellings of Eldervale.
Ooh, we are not going to be in this one.
I love this game.
I think it's a good game.
I think to me it's the same category, not mechanics and not experience, but the same description that you used for Inish, where it marriages Euro mechanics, Ameritrash mechanics. It's the same kind of hybrid experience, but it does so in such a satisfying fashion for me. It has worker placement, and I love worker placement games, but it also innovates on one of the most boring parts of worker placement games, which is the recall phase. So, and I would say that in a lot of worker placement games, there's just a period of time where it's like, okay, we've placed everybody, now let's get them back.
Okay.
But Dwellings of Eldervale innovates on that and says, no, when you bring them back, that can be just as, if not the most powerful part of your turn. You go out and you do all of these actions on the hex board that you build out and you explore, but then when you return them, you can allocate them to this tableau that you build. And depending on where you allocate them, you can get more resources. You can do additional actions that have ramifications out on the main board. And it's such a fun loop. To me, it comes down to Honeybuzz. So you really enjoyed Honeybuzz.
I do.
I thought Honeybuzz was just okay, because I think that the actions that you're taking to get to that big cascading action sequence... Yeah. I think that the build-up isn't as interesting. And I think that the play out is so much satisfaction from when you are able to initiate that and spark that it makes the rest of that seem like not as fun to get to. Like you're like, oh, I'm building up to the really fun part. I
mean, we disagree, but we won't go into that.
It's fine. It's fine. We disagree about most things.
Yes.
But Dwellings of Eldervale, to me, is really exciting when you're doing your worker placement actions, as a worker placement game should be. But then they're like, no, this is equally as satisfying. So there's never a dull moment for me. There's never a lapse in this is not engaging to me. And even when you lose in combat, you don't lose your people. They're not gone. They just go to the graveyard or they go to the underworld, and then they'll come back and you can use them the next turn. It messes up maybe some of your action potential, but you still get them back. So you even get resources for when your people die. So there's so many mechanics that are there to engage the player, even if it's not their turn. And there are so many ways that it rewards you mechanically in where other games, those are just like refresh or like intermittent, like intermission points between what you want to be doing. I'm never not excited about what's happening on the state of the board. I think it's a really amazing experience.
Yeah, Dwellings is good. I think it's a solid game. I just never got the buzz other people did. I liked aspects of it.
Were you drinking?
Which of the games? What do you mean, was I drinking? Oh, if you're saying drinking makes it better or worse, which one are you saying? Because I'm not sure which direction you're going.
You said I never got the buzz.
Oh, yeah. No.
It was a bad joke that was made worse by the fact that you didn't even catch it.
I have no clue what you're talking about. No, I just didn't get it. I liked Dwellings of Eldervale. I thought it was a good game. I did not love it the way many people do. I enjoyed my time with it and was totally fine moving on. So, yeah, that's where I am.
Cool.
Yeah.
What's your number 4?
My number 4 is one that I think you've played this, 90% sure, and if not...
that's a bad assumption that I've played a game.
I'm 99% certain you've played this, and I'm 99% certain you will not be surprised that I included it. But it's not a crossover.
Okay.
What's a game that you would not be surprised that I put in the top 100, but it's not a crossover? Coming in at 379 on BoardGameGeek.
379 that I have played that you think should be in the top 100.
And you will not be surprised because you know I love it.
Now I really want to know.
And I'm putting it in because of the wide accessibility it would give to people.
Oh.
The wide accessibility is going to be very appealing, very simple, engage a lot of people.
I can't think of it.
Because Marvel United should absolutely be in the top 100.
I wouldn't have picked that.
I said, but you are you surprised that I did?
I'm not surprised at all.
There we go.
I'm not surprised at all, but I wouldn't have picked it.
I know you wouldn't have.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you think that I would agree with you?
Yep.
If they ever came out with a revised version that had more heroes in the base game.
I don't.
I think getting the game
Yep.
and getting the best version of it is actually inaccessible. I think your points for why it should be in the top 100, very valid.
I think my
very
points
valid.
apply even just to the base game as is.
Really?
I think that the base game, meaning because it depends on what your goal is. I think to the more hardcore gamer, the base game will not be interesting enough.
You want the replayability.
I wanted more out of the base game from when I first got
the reason you're putting it in the top 100
is partially because of my own enjoyment from all of the stuff, and then partially because I think it is an accessible game. It is fun. It teaches cooperative gameplay. It teaches actual cooperation as opposed to pure alpha leader. Although I guess it depends on your group. You could alpha leader if you really wanted to. But it has a theme that is really just worldwide craze at this point, and so it is highly accessible, highly easy to play, incredibly affordable. I agree with you that the biggest thing against it would almost be that you introduce people to this hobby and you're like, here's this fun thing, and they're like, I love it, where can I get more? And they're like, oh, screw this hobby. Because that's going to cost like $700 on eBay to get all the stuff, and you're like, well, forget that. You don't need all the stuff. You just need like 1 or 2 expansions, but they don't necessarily know that, and so that could be a bit of a downer. I think Marvel United is accessible, enjoyable, has a wide appeal to it, and again, I'm not sitting down to play Marvel United at game night. I'm not playing.
You're never not happy when you're playing.
I'm never. We could literally sit down after this video. We will now. No, we could.
It could be our outro. It's a short game.
We could literally sit down this video, play Marvel United together, and I would have fun doing so. It would not be my go-to pick, but like most family-friendly kids games, I wouldn't play with you. I just wouldn't. I'll play with my kids and have fun. I would literally play Marvel United with you and totally have a fine time doing so.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I think that, to your point, after you mentioned it, I fully understand that, and I think that the designer Eric Lang, he had a conversation around the time that Marvel United, I think, came out that speaks to what you're saying, and it was a discussion of how I think for people like us that are so deeply into the hobby that we lose sight of what accessibility means for the general consumer.
You see that Wingspan video with Mandy Patinkin? There's a recent video, know who Mandy Patinkin is?
Where he's trying to learn Wingspan.
Diego Montoya, I killed your father.
Yeah. No, I know him.
Recent video of him learning Wingspan and how difficult it was to understand the rules. Even Wingspan, for someone who's not in the hobby,
which
it's a
we
lot.
discuss as a fantastic ambassador of the hobby. Yeah, no, I think that you're right. I think Marvel United is so immediately accessible. There is so little mechanically that you have to grasp, but it's still like, you know, that first time when you're like, oh my gosh, is Rhino about to run around the hole and kill me instantly?
Destroy me.
And I'm just going to have to start the game over?
Yeah.
Or, you know, there's a lot of fun stuff there. And that person's not in the base game. But I respect that.
Yeah, that's my choice.
And number 3 for me is absolutely, as I said Our second crossover.
You have 2 higher than that?
Yes.
You have 2 that you put higher than that?
I did.
Offended. Just to be clear. Actually, I don't know if it's my number 1, but it's yeah, go ahead.
Ranked in at 1236.
38. It's changed in the past 2 days.
That's why I went back and changed this. At 1236.
That means it's going higher already. People have caught on.
Is mind management.
Mind management?
It's mind management. See, I knew you. I guess you didn't know I was going to do parks. I knew you were going to do parks, so I knew we had 2.
Mind management.
If mind management wasn't on your list, I was going to slap you.
100%. That was the one I thought. I thought we had 1 crossover. Of course, it's mind management.
So this game has been long enough.
Yes, it is.
More than Veiled Fate that I'm allowed to do this.
Yes. It does need.
This
time.
is a deplorable ranking for this.
It's not.
No. I mean, it's understandable in the context that it was hard to get at first. It's just now had that second reprint Kickstarter. It will get out. Over time, if this does not break into the top 100...
I quit the hobby.
I was about to say the same thing. I was like, oh, should I say that, though? Like, what if it doesn't?
No.
It should. It has to.
I'm not going to quit the hobby, but I will start a competing website to BoardGameGeek.
Can we put RPGs on it? You didn't know you walked into that.
Do you know there's an RPG Geek?
Is there?
Yeah. It's a different tab. You have to go to...
I actually, now that you mention that, I do... It's on the same website.
It is.
It's on the same website, so it counts.
Whatever.
It's gotta move over 1 tab. It's gotta move over 1 tab. So, mind management at 1236 is... I haven't played Beast, so I can say clearly... From my experience with what I've played, Mind Management is the best hidden movement game out there. And not only that, it is so good, it transcends the fact that it's in a particular genre. Yeah. It does not matter that it's a hidden movement game. It doesn't matter if you don't like that. It doesn't matter if you think that's going to be too complex for any particular group. This is such a good game that I would hands down recommend this. I am always going to be happy if somebody says, do you want to play Mind Management? I will never turn it down. It is a game that can take a tense, crazy 30 minutes. Or it could take a action-packed hour. And it can be as simple as you want it to be because you can play just the base game. You can even play the tutorial aspect if you want to reduce overhead of rules and not have the immortals in it. But it also rewards those who keep coming back with the shift system.
Yeah.
There are few games where I can say I have nothing bad to say about that. But I really don't have anything bad to say about Mind Management. I
struggled. When we did a best and worst review of it, I struggled to find something.
The only thing I would say, and I don't remember what you said, the only thing I would say is that it doesn't bother me, but I could see it bothering people, is the rule book at the very beginning has a color-coded set of rules that apply to both the tutorial and then the main game. And
I find the rule book needlessly complicated. I do.
Fair.
Yeah. It could be better, I'm sure. I mean, it could be worse, but
I think it's something that Jay and Sen are aware of. Mm-hmm. And I think they might be interested in opinions on it. But
here's an opinion. You want an opinion? Have 2 rulebooks. 2 rulebooks. One introduces you to the basic game.
Yeah.
Then one is the full game, although you can skip the sections in green that you read already.
And that was the exact same conversation I had. When we were at Gamma, Jay was like, what do you think about that? And I was like, I didn't have a problem with it.
Idea?
Huh?
That was his idea?
That was my idea.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So he was like, what do you think about the rule book? Because I've gotten some people asking about it. And I said, I didn't have a problem with it, but I can easily see why it would be a problem for other people. And I was like, I came from Fantasy Flight games at the beginning of my board game journey after I got into like the initial games that I enjoyed. And I was like, so I am very comfortable with and familiar and appreciative of the 2 rule books. Yeah. I was like, because a lot of those have a learn to play and then a rules reference. And that kind of stuff. You can't
have a rules reference if you're taking out the immortals.
No.
You have to have 2 learn to play.
Yes, but to me, having multiple thinner rule books that are visually and categorically separate from each other is not a problem, and I personally prefer it.
Yeah, that's what I do. A second rule book has just a section where you can skim this part very quickly if you've already read the first one.
Yes, but to say that is the only issue I have with Mind Management, really, I think it is so good.
And they have an app now for solo play.
They do.
Even more accessible. All those solo games. Get that game, rate it, bring it up, because, I mean, we're making progress. They went up 2 spots in 2 days.
I know. It's so good.
Another 1,100 days to go. It's a great game. We'll talk
So
about
good.
it.
I mean, you're going to talk about it a little bit.
And I'm going to talk about it again. Number three is coming in at 865. A giant jump up from 379.
Woo!
865 is Tak. Tak is an abstract two-player game that is delightful. Absolutely delightful. I find this game to be so challenging, so back and forth, so tense. It gives me all the feeling that chess does, but in a more accessible, shorter game time. Chess is still wonderful, don't worry. Tak is just, and what boggles the mind is it's based on...
Came from a book.
Came from a book, and they're like, let's make it into an actual game. I'm like, congratulations, your game is garbage.
So
it's not garbage. It's incredible.
If you haven't heard of Tak, it's from The Name of the Wind.
Yep.
And then also, I'm trying to remember the second one.
Don't know.
This is a whole nother video, is the fact that the third book in this trilogy has not come out yet after over 10 years from Patrick Rothfuss, but dear goodness. So yes, Name of the Wind, it's a fantasy novel from Patrick Rothfuss, who to me is like one of the titans of fantasy writing, and it's just a... Valid. It's just a game that was invented or devised for the book.
And then
they made it into a game.
And it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I love it. I love how quick it is. You can play around in like 10 minutes, and then you're like, no, I want to beat you.
Now, I've played Shobu, but I haven't played Tak.
Oh, Shobu left my collection in a heartbeat because of Tak. Shobu's good.
Man.
Shobu's good. I kept Shobu for a bit, but I was like, I'm just not going to pick Shobu over Tak, ever. Tak is... After this video, we'll just play it on camera.
We're going to do Marvel United.
And then Tak.
Then we're going to do Tak.
And then Seven Wonders with leaders and cities.
Oh, that's going to be spicy.
Anyways, that's my number three.
My number two ranks in at 1971. 1971.
No idea.
It is Scrabble.
Did
I upset you again?
No, honestly, after the list you've done, that's pretty much...
it's par for the course.
No, that one's actually completely legitimate.
So Scrabble is just one of my favorite games. I have a writing background. I love words. I just...
And you think it would take off with the general public?
It's just not as accessible from a core board game hobbies perspective. And the base game isn't enough.
The base game's not enough.
So I have a deluxe Scrabble board with the Lazy Susan on the underside, where you can, and the like raised edges to where you don't lose any tiles. It's such a satisfying, enjoyable experience for me. I love playing Scrabble. I have a lot of good memories of when my daughter was born. My mom was there to help with childcare, and it was me and my wife Amber and my mom, and it was just on a random weekday night. We'd do this pretty frequently, where we'd make some fruit and cheese boards, and we'd just sit down at like 9 p.m. once the baby was down, and we'd play Scrabble for a couple hours. And I have such fond memories of that time, and also just the game in general. I'm never unhappy when I'm playing Scrabble. It's such a nice detox from our hobby sometimes, and I say that in the respect that I love board games, and if I ever stopped loving board games, I would stop what we're doing now. But it's nice to have a break sometimes. It's not that I'm burnt out or that I'm not wanting to play board games, but there's such a level of like, I mean, you and I were talking earlier about that one video you did a month or two ago, where you were like, here's 300 pages of rule books, and that's my homework.
300 pages of rule books that I read that week.
Yeah. And I mean, you and Jesse and Shira can bounce a little bit of that off yourselves, in terms of like, they could teach you a game that you didn't have to read the rules for. But like, I don't live near you guys. I am you in Arkansas. My homework is reading a lot of rules and playing games and then teaching it to people, because that's just my space, my role where I'm at. And so it's nice sometimes to have such a just pure board game experience. You were talking about talk, you were talking about chess. There's something innately relaxing about those experiences to me. And I think Scrabble is amazing. I think it is such a good game. And I know that in the vein of all the things we talk about, it's an outlier, which most of my list is an outlier, apparently.
No, this is practically just by the very nature of the rest of your list.
I really just... This is a classic game for me, and to be almost down to 2,000 is insane. But I get why it is, because...
It's a mass market.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have the same appeal on BoardGameGeek.
But Scrabble, to me, is amazing.
My number two is an accessibility issue. It's one of those games that just doesn't... It's not in enough people's hands. The people who play this game love it. If you haven't played it, blah, 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 we'll play it after this video. My number two, coming in at 868, a mere 3 spots away from Tak, is Rurik, Dawn of Kiev.
You are so high on Rurik. Every time you talk about Rurik.
It is ridiculously good. It's ridiculously good. It's just such an incredible game. It's from Stan Kanuski. Yeah, have you played any of his stuff?
Yeah, I did Shadow Kingdoms, which I really enjoy, and I backed Resurgence, which I can't wait to.
Resurgence is so good.
But ever since I played Shadow Kingdoms, and then I was really interested in Resurgence, so I backed it. Ever since then, you talk about... Oh, yeah, I've backed Endless Winter too, waiting for that one to come in. That's actually my number one. It's not here yet. But you have talked about Rurik so much, I've always wanted to play it.
It's ridiculously good. And again, in the nature of the way you have your actions, the way you're thinking and outthinking your opponents, the way you're trying to plan around not just what you want to do, but how you know everyone's going to screw you, because the game's divided into 2 phases. 4 rounds, but 2 phases each round. The first phase is where you try to lock in your actions, and the second phase is where you execute on the actions. But locking in the actions is the tense part, where you're like, I'm going to go here, and then you're like, I'm going to outbid you and push you down. Kind of has a similar idea to what's going on in Cyclades. Less direct. You don't have a limit of 1 movement per round, or whatever it is, but it's still, you have to plan out the actions you're locking in and the order you're locking them in. You're programming out your moves. You're like, okay, great, I think the first thing I want to do is going to be a movement. At what strength? Well, it depends if you outbid me. And the second thing I want to do is going to be a build. And you're like, well, maybe I'll outbuild you here. You're like, I'm going to definitely put a lot of money behind this one so I can have my third action. You're planning and programming what's going to happen. Yeah. The game state may have changed by the time it got there. If you combine the best parts of the chaos of a game like Robo Rally with the best parts of area control, Rurik is... I like Rurik.
We'll have to play.
Yeah.
After this video.
Exactly.
Obviously, we're wrong.
Yeah. Your turn.
Real quick, before I do my number one, I'm curious, based off of some of the ones you've put on this list today, if you play it 5 more times, would Anno ever get there for you?
Anno 1800?
Yeah.
It was on my short list.
It was on the short list? Okay, I was curious, because there are very few times when we're trying to pick a game, and we list several games, and then we cut down, and you were visibly upset that we cut Anno.
Yeah, we were trying to pick games to play, and we limited it down to 5 games, and then we kept dropping them off. And I was like, oh yeah, I take Blood Rage off the list. Okay, that's fine. And take this off the list. And someone's like, not Anno. I'm like, oh, curses. I love
We
Anno.
ultimately played Brass.
And Brass is amazing. And Brass is in the top 100. And I think Anno rivals Brass for me. I think it does. But I'm not yet... But again, this wasn't personally just an issue of my accessibility.
Yeah.
It wasn't the short list because I think it is accessible. I think it fits in the same spot as Brass. And I think it is accessible and it's different, but it's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
You have to learn a whole bunch of stuff and get a feel. Like we talking about, we just had a conversation about the elegance in Euro game design.
Yeah.
I think Brass has that in a way Anno doesn't. I think Anno is more accessible in the depth of strategy, but I think Brass...
But not as clean.
Not as clean. There's 40 different buildings you have to learn, and you don't really learn them. You just have to know a giant network sheet of powering up. I love Anno 1800. I absolutely adore it.
But when Alex is doing his top 100 games...
Anno 1800 is going to go up from where it was last year. It was already in last year.
Where was it, though?
I think it was the higher 80s. I could be wrong. But
how far do you think it's going to jump?
I have to do my list. There's a lot of games I like.
there's a lot of games I like.
You gotta weigh them up against each other.
Oh, you know what we should do?
No.
After you do your top 100, we should do top 10 games we'd take out of your 100.
That's actually not bad. I'll do that. Anyways, your number one.
My number one has existed in the top 100 and is out of it, and it ranks in at 120. And it's Forbidden Stars.
Oh, it's a garbage game. I like Forbidden Stars. I like it.
I can't not have this on my list. And I recognize that it used to be in the top 100, and so it's had a place there. But I think part of the issue with this is that it's an older game, and it's now out of print.
Yeah. It's going to start dropping off more and more.
It's going to drop off more and more and more, which makes me sad because it is so good. And I think that there's a plan to reskin it and recreate it outside of the Warhammer license from one of the designers, Samuel Bailey. I believe that's in the works. But it's just so good. This is to me, I have not played an asymmetric strategy war game that is better than this. It is just remarkably solid. You're gonna love
Rurik. You're gonna love Rurik. It has a similar feeling to...
It does?
The nature of the programming of your actions and hoping the game stays...
Well, because you were saying you lock it in, and then I was like, that sounds exactly like the order placement in Forbidden Stars.
And I like Forbidden Stars a lot. I would take Rurik over it any day.
Wow.
Any day. You won't probably.
I probably won't. Yeah. I have such a length of attachment to this. But I'm very excited. After you mentioned that, I was like, oh, man, that sounds really good because I like that part of Forbidden Stars. It has such... hidden order placement in this is remarkably good. You have quadrants that you place your orders into, but then you and other people can place on top of that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that it won't happen. It means that it happens last, which could mean that if you are, I'm like, in this space, I'm going to build some troops. And then at the very end of the order placement, if somebody else puts one on top, and then when they play it, they reveal it, and it is a attack, and they kill everybody you have in there, then when it's your turn to flip that, it's invalid. You can't do it. So there's an insane level of tension when you're placing your order tokens in this game that is so satisfying. And there's also a really remarkable depth. And the reason why I think once we finally get maybe a full game in of this, and really, I know you played way back in the day, and the person didn't like it, and again with me, but you love ramping powers and abilities, and the combat deck in Forbidden Stars
gets better and better.
Is bar none one of the best deck building experiences out there. It's so good because you have a starting deck of combat, and then you can progressively push into a mixed group of offensive or defensive cards, or morale-based cards, or manipulative cards. And whatever you buy into, it's going to progressively make that deck very unique and nothing like anybody else's, because their races are different to begin with, and the way they function are different. But also, it may be a deck combination that has never been done with that faction, with your play group ever. And you'll have to test it and see whether it works, or whether it comes up against a good strategy from somebody else's combat deck. I know that there are elements of this that other people don't like, and I know that it's probably things that you aren't as high on, like the downtime if you're at higher player counts. Like if me and you are fighting, or if me and Jesse are fighting, and you're not, you're just going to sit and watch that.
My biggest complaint with Forbidden Stars is the downtime in combat. Yeah. It's not a huge... It's a great game, but that is my biggest complaint.
Yeah. And for me, at this point in stage, if you and I have 300 pages of homework, if it's downtime and it's not my turn, I'm just going to read a rule book. It doesn't bother me. Yeah. That's not something that's ever bothered me. It never bothered me in Twilight Imperium. I am okay to have a big experience that takes a long time, and sometimes I'm not the active participant in what's happening. But it is so good. It's remarkable. It's not available anymore unless you're getting used copies out there. But it's so good. I can't not have it be my top.
My number one, we've talked about it already, Mind Management. 1236 on BoardGameGeek. An incredible experience. One that I genuinely think will make its way into the top 100. I think it's that good. I think it's that accessible. I think perhaps a combination of a better rulebook and a new print run and just wider accessibility. It's such a good game. Like you said, it transcends the genre. There's not a guarantee you'll like it. Absolutely not. But it's not like certain games within the hidden movement genre. I'm like, oh, do you like hidden movement? And you're like, no. I'm like, oh, never mind then. That's the conversation that ends.
Yeah.
With Mind Management, it's like, do you like hidden movement? You're like, no. I'm like, let me show you this game.
Yeah.
It just still continues. It's so good.
To me, in 5 years, if we do the same video, if we...
We're not going to be friends in 5 years.
Is it because of this list? To me, in 5 years, if we do either of the same videos where we're talking about what we'd take out, what we'd put in, I predict or hope, predict or hope, whichever one you want, that the way we talked about Wingspan being an ambassador for the hobby, the same way we talk about parks, I think that those games, I think that Mind Management is in the same conversation. Maybe it won't, because it's a small publisher, I don't know about the accessibility or the access to the game over the course of print runs. It deserves to be in contention for that conversation of the kind of game that brings people into the hobby and that people who are in the hobby adore hands down. It's there. It's there, and it deserves to be there. It's not just... I know that we've discussed this, you're very cult of the new with, what's around. You're like, oh, I really like this. And it takes a while. You have to make sure that you go back and play games that you faded on, and only faded on because you just haven't played them, and remind yourself, oh, this is also amazing, I just haven't done it. Because, we did Great Wall, and,
it's so good.
And you were like, man, I just hadn't been thinking about it as much, and I didn't know, where does it deserve its place in my collection? And then we played it, and you were like, why did I forget about how good this game was? And I think that mind management is so remarkable. I don't think it will ever lose that Cult of the New Luster or that like hype.
I'm so
it's
down
so
to play it. It's one of the newer games that I've played the most. I always go into this phase of I get the game, I play the game, I go through a bunch of plays, then to a certain extent I'm on to the next thing, and I come back and revisit.
I mean, you and I are both over a dozen plays.
Easily.
And
It's
for a new game, and with all the coverage that you have to do, not me, but that you have to do, to play a game over a dozen times, and then to say, I would rather not do the work I need to do, and if someone asked me to play that, I would do it again.
Yeah.
That speaks to how good it is.
That and Crokinole, let's do it.
Oh, Crokinole.
Sorry,
Man.
it's in the top 100.
It's in the top 100. I know. There were some that I was like, oh, it's in the top 100. I don't have to do it.
That's a list. That's going to be the top 10 games, or 29, whatever it is, games. We're going to add to the top 100. I'm going to title something obnoxious, like 10 games and one garbage art.
Devin won't ever get a hamster.
Devin won't ever get a hamster. Yeah, that's it. These are the titles that we'd put in. We'll have links down below, especially if Devin Talks Tabletop, where you can go ahead and subscribe, and hopefully he'll get a hamster. But until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameGeek.
And I'm Devin.
And have a good one.
Marvel United outro?
Tack.
Okay, tack. Okay. Tack. Everybody. Woo! Okay. How hard is this to learn? It doesn't seem like a lot of stuff.
Do you think it would be hard to learn if I was doing this? Open your
It
bag.
depends.
Open your bag.
You might be trying to punish me after my list.
Okay. So. Okay. Here's the deal. Pretty simple.
Do we need that one too?
Nope, not yet. Yeah, on your turn, we're playing in the center 3x3 grid.
Okay.
On your turn, you either put down a piece,
Okay.
or you put your piece on top of another piece.
Okay.
And it could
even
be-
somebody else's?
It can be somebody else's piece. You can, when you move, let's say, for instance, this is the situation over here, I can go ahead and move down the stack. Okay? So you can move that. It's straight lines only. You can move down the stack, but you can only move if you control the top piece of the tower.
Okay.
Your goal is to have an uninterrupted line from one edge to the other. That includes...
Of just yours?
Of just your pieces.
Like tic-tac-toe almost?
Yep.
Of that?
But it could
Okay.
be broken up like this. Anyways, this is not your edge.
Go this side to this side or this side to this side?
Any edge at all. Yeah, I'm saying, yeah, this side, this is...
Oh, wait, so it could be... It can't be diagonal. It has to be orthogonally?
Yes.
So... Oh, well, that would be
That's
that.
already, exactly, yeah.
So.
It's okay, that will become more relevant as we expand. This is just step one. Go ahead. You can't go on top of a piece, you have to move on top of a piece.
Oh.
I forgot to tell you a rule. The stack limit is equal to the size of the board. This is a 3x3 board. The stack limit is 3.
Oh.
Sorry for that. My bad.
Well,
My bad.
You cheated.
Yeah.
You cheated.
Absolutely.
It's over. I'm
Okay.
done. I'm going to go here.
Why don't you just put out a new piece there?
Did I?
No, why don't you just put out a new piece?
On top?
No, just here. Once you're moving here, why don't you just put a piece there?
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Thanks, Dad.
And for those who know TAC, we're going to get to the rest of the stuff, don't we?
Oh, dear.
That's the right answer.
So if I move this,
Yeah.
can I go that way? I go that way?
Yes, you could go that way.
So I could go like that?
You could go like that, or you can just stop by one. Your choice.
But then I have a question. If you place there,
I win.
You win?
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. I feel like you're winning.
Possibly, but I've played this game before. Don't worry about it.
I can't place directly on top,
Nope.
right?
Nope. I win.
Ah!
Hold it. Ready?
All right, let's do it again.
Nope. We're up to the next step.
Oh, dear.
Wait,
We're already up to
hold
the
on.
next step.
Now we're placing on edges. We're playing on a 4x4 grid. Okay?
Oh, we're placing on these now?
Yeah, now we're placing on a 4x4 grid instead of a 3x3.
Okay.
Stack limit is now 4, and we have a new rule.
Okay.
You are allowed to place a piece like that.
What does that do?
You can't ever go on top of a piece like that.
Okay.
So no one can go on top of you.
Can you only have one of those out?
No, you can have as many as you want, but it does not count towards your completion either.
Can you ever do that?
Nope.
Let's
do it.
So you have to get it out of the way if you're trying to complete something? Okay, did you just start there?
No. I was just showing you. Hey, you want to go first or should I go first?
Can I do that?
Yeah.
Oh wait, no. I can't, right? I have to.
No, you don't have to go further. You could go further. You could stop as soon as you want.
I could have done that.
Yes.
Okay. Oh dear.
It seems reasonable.
Oh, but then you're gonna go there and you're gonna win.
You could capstone it. You could not capstone. You could whatever piece.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
This is so interesting.
By the way, for the record, this right here would be a great ASMR board game.
Oh, it would? And then I can do that? Yeah.
You could do that. Wait, where'd you start?
I started here.
Okay.
And I went here, and then I dropped off and
that's
did that.
completely illegal. Completely illegal.
That's completely illegal.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, this is so thinky.
Yeah, isn't it? We're not done yet either. We'll get there.
Yep.
Actually.
And I can't just directly place on, can I?
What do you mean? No, you can never place directly on a piece.
I go
You
here.
can take control, and again, the stack limit is 4 right now because the board size is 4.
Can I go there?
No, you can only move one. You could. Well, you started here.
Yeah.
You could, in theory, drop that piece over
one
there.
there?
Yes. When you travel, you always have to drop off one along the way.
I'll just do that. I think that's the wrong decision, but...
Tool. If the board ever stalemates, if you ever can't have a legal move, or if a player runs out of pieces, then the person who wins is the person who has the most top stones, not counting these.
Oh, just the one on top?
Yeah.
So you're doing good.
In terms of a stalemate. But
You're doing good.
We won't count if it comes to that, because I didn't tell you that rule. You're going to force a stalemate at this point. I think a stalemate's already forced. Unless you just move out of the way just to let me win, which I don't think you're going to do. But again, we won't count it as a win, we'll count it as a draw. The stalemate forces certain conditions that you can't do. You can't just put these down willy-nilly because it doesn't help you.
Do I have to move all of them?
No.
I can move just some of them?
Yep. Now you can only move. Also, we technically have a limited piece pool that I haven't been enforcing.
There we go.
Don't I just go here and win? Wouldn't that be a stupid thing?
Oh! Oh, yeah.
We won't count this one. We'll call this one a draw.
I'll go there.
We'll call this one a draw.
I'll go there.
No. We'll call this one a draw. It's all good.
I was trying to get that line here.
Alright, now we're going to go to my favorite mode. Okay? 21 pieces. Take 21 pieces for yourself. This is the last game we'll play. You need 21 total pieces. We're going to start enforcing all the rules. No more rules after this.
No more rules?
No more new rules.
Oh, no more new rules. I
Yes.
thought you were going to say,
No.
no more rules. We're enforcing all the rules. None of them.
You should only have 21 pieces. You can play on different sized boards, but 5x5 is my favorite. You can also play 6x6.
This is so fun.
This is the 5x5 board over here. See?
Do I need this guy?
This is the 6x6 grid on these. Okay.
Oh, my goodness.
And in theory, you can play on a chessboard with an 8x8 in theory. Okay. Ready?
Do I get this guy?
Yes, you do. This piece can go on the board. It counts towards your completion.
And you can't ever have anything on top of it.
It crushes stones.
Ah.
You want to go first today?
So many things are happening. You go first. So many things are happening.
Stack limit is 5. Oh, that's a short game. Go ahead, undo the move. It happens more often than you think. Go ahead.
It's like Connect 4 where you don't pay attention to the Connect 4
Undo
part.
this move and do something else.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Yeah, good for you.
And you could go one further if you want to control that stack.
And then
You'd
do
have to,
that.
No. You always have to drop off one along the way. Yep. You don't have to. I'm saying you could.
No, I'm not going to.
Okay.
Well, that was dumb of me.
Yeah.
Get there. Oh wait, no, you lose. You can't do it right away.
Correct.
I don't think I can stop you. I think you're gonna win on your next turn, right?
Oh yeah, it looks like I'm.
All right, I want to start again. Start again.
Okay. Do you want to go first or?
I think I need the help. Yeah, sure. Oh my goodness, I like this.
It's a good game.
I like this. Man, this is good.
It only gets better the more you play, and the more you play with the same people. And people have playstyles. I tend to bias towards flooding the board with new pieces.
Yeah.
Some people like to get, and it can get you stuck because the right piece at the right time can really be huge. But I will break my playstyle for right now.
Son of a gun. That was
Son of a gun.
That was so dumb. It was okay. That was so cool. I'm not even mad. I'm not even mad.
You can. So what happens is you always have to drop off at least one, but you don't have to drop off the bottom one. So I could go here like that, and then there like that. Layer the control. Drive your other way, cascade it down, and just walk down the hill.
That was so cool.
It's a fun game.
That was so cool.
We can keep going, but we'll do that off camera. This has been TAC. In case you missed it, this is what TAC is. I love the fact, one of my favorite things about TAC is the slow introduction. The way I give you a 3x3 grid, 2 rules, and you're already like a little compelled, and that just escalates each additional step. Oh, here are these stones. Oh, here's a larger board, and here's this thing which you didn't even get to see in action, but it breaks the game. I love this game. It's a great game. This is TAC. This has been a list. If you stuck around this long, you're really dedicated, which honestly, most of you probably clicked away after the whole RPG thing. Yeah, about that.
Oh. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Have a good one.
Devin Talks Tabletop.